Hi, this is Justin. Welcome back to the Mental Health and Addiction channel. I'm going to be talking about some stressors today, and I'm also going to be talking more about the drowning effect, which I have mentioned several times in our previous videos. So, I want to go into more definition about what the drowning effect is and just go into a lot more detail about it because I'm going to be using that term a lot. So, but I will start out with stressors. Um, what are some of the stresses that you face every day in life? Maybe there's more stressors now that you're facing. There's a pandemic going on than what you would ordinarily face, which for everyone, I believe that's true. But stressors that are so extreme that you feel that others could not appreciate how much they are impacting you. Finances, cash or income, poverty, disagreements. Disagreements come from primarily from being poor. A lot of times, if you're in a relationship with anybody and you're sharing income, there's a lot of tension over where that little income gets to go, and that can create a lot of disagreements on stuff that there should just not be disagreements about. But what to spend your very little money on? Maybe one of you hasn't gotten something you've really been wanting or something. If it's a relationship issue, maybe you can't um, bear them right now or be happy. But you need to take a moment and consider what you would be like, what it would be like for you alone. Do you care for this person? I believe the answer would be yes. Unless it's a whole fucked up relationship or something, then, you know. But if you have someone who's good to you, appreciate them. Hopefully they can appreciate you too. You have each other to go through whatever you're going through together. And that, as long as you're good to each other, will only make your bond stronger. So, in the event that you have somebody, you have a lot more to hold on to than you may realize when it's gone. So, appreciate that. Remember what you saw in each other when you first saw each other, love each other, and remember why you fell in love with the other person. That's very important because they are still the same person. I want to also make sure that we have our voices. By that I mean we often, I'm just going to start to say it like this, we often miss the things people are saying, especially when they're frustrated, or especially when it feels like you're, okay, I apologize. We are saying, especially when we are frustrated or just not listening or don't care, but we can miss a lot when we aren't paying attention. A lot of times we will hear something from the same person and it may just sound like a broken record to us. It may not even register, but it could be the time when someone is saying something that is very critical in their life at that moment. Maybe you've heard it 1,000 times, and now I'm going to switch back to speaking for the addict. The addict may feel beaming with, they know that this is when they're going to do it. Why did it happen? I don't know. Why did they suddenly take it more seriously, seemingly? I don't know. Where did this motivation? It doesn't matter where the motivation came from, but they've apparently got it. Please don't put these people down when they are trying. That is the worst thing you can do, is laugh at someone's efforts or something like that. That they will remember that. They are going to try to get sober. When they do get sober, those are the things they'll remember. They're going to remember that stuff. It may seem just totally insignificant to you, but that's very terse, whether you realize it or not. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about the drowning effect, but as I'm talking about having your voice, which is what I'm trying to talk about here, making sure that you are heard, or making sure that you are hearing someone who is going through something which I will later describe as the drowning effect. But yes, when they decide to make this serious change, the addict, and yet again are not taken seriously, it's often because we The addict are the one that's saying it or talking about it, and it's coming from us, the addict or patient. Um, Basically, in other words, okay, yeah, I know it's coming from the patient, and that is key. But because it's coming from the patient, it can come off as a broken record to some people who have no idea what it's like to be through this, to go through this. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. I'm actually having kind of a crummy day. But nonetheless, this is mostly because they've heard, like I said, the same things before, that you're gonna, change something about your life, the addict basically, and try to get clean or something like that. And you've likely told them this a time or two, so maybe they don't get all excited like you would hope they would be for you, and they don't provide maybe as fervent of support as you would like, or you feel that they should be excited for you because you're going to do this now, and you're more in tune with what you're going to do. You understand that, but it's apparently not beaming from you. Like, it feels like it's beaming from you, but it may not be. And if you ask them, can you not tell the difference? They'll likely say no, if they're being honest. And it's nothing you're doing incorrectly. It's just, I went through it too. I literally said, you really can't see the difference, and they're just like, no, you tried to quit before, and okay. And it was obvious to me. So I know that it seems like it's obvious to the addict. And if I can speak for those who are watching who may not be addicts, but who may be watching this because they know an addict, I know that can be hard, because it can be disappointing, of course, like it has obviously probably been in the past when you have offered as much support as you could. And the addict also needs to know that it's not because they don't support you, it's because they are tired also of the ups and downs, and they don't really want to go through being disappointed again. They feel bad about not being able to offer you the straight up, solid support that they feel like you probably do need, but maybe they can no longer give because of how tired it has made them over however long a period of time. If it hasn't been that long, then there may be another factor in play that I'm not too sure what to say about. But anyway, you need to have friends and family that are supportive and helpful and non-toxic. That means cutting some friends out. You'll have to do that. You have to do what's best for you. Okay, so let me talk about the drowning effect. And I'm going to talk about how the drowning effect is, if you want to call it an implement, it is a blunt implement, but it can do a lot of damage, and it can feel extremely sharp to anyone witnessing it. Or, well, I'll continue. But the drowning effect, when the person is drowning, it can and very likely may be hurtful, confusing, and even be a side of them you've never seen before, didn't know existed. But please, to the best of your ability, try not to hold this drowning effect incident against them. If, however, you really, really do need to mention it for whatever reason, specific thing, just for God's sake, wait a little while. They need to get over this drowning effect. They are still in a very delicate, doing a delicate balance in their mind, because this is an extreme thing to go through. It is, I will say, going through this is one of probably the last steps someone would take before committing suicide. Possibly not even this step. I'm absolutely serious on that. Take the drowning effect stuff seriously. just 100%. Take them seriously before that. But if you get to the stage where someone is screaming and acting a fool and they can't appreciate the way that they are appearing and acting and would otherwise be mortified by, something's gone terribly wrong, and they need help, and they're trying to ask for the help. They may feel that they've been asking for help, and this is the moment that somehow it all just came together. And whatever this was that came together in that moment in their mind, whatever happened to them, whatever it was that brought this on, it could be many things. It can manifest in different ways, but it's basically going blank. It's screaming for help, possibly lashing out at others, who that person may feel they've been asking for help from, but they just don't feel heard. And so they're trying one last thing before jumping off a bridge. It's an act. It is a desperate, I don't even know if it's an act. I don't think it's conscious. I think it is just a version of falling apart. But there's some organization to this and how it manifests. So, please, to the best of your ability, just wait for them to get through this. If you have a thing to say about what they said, which you may well have, because they can lash out and make people feel as helpless or hopeless or desperate or as hurt as something as extreme as they do, because they want someone to realize, hey, I'm feeling extremely blank, whatever, over here. And if anyone knew how you actually felt, people would be coming to the rescue. And you're finally like, people just don't see it. I'm almost crying here, sorry, because I remember it. People just don't see it. And what else can you do? I guess you can try screaming at everyone. Scream at them all. But it does a lot of damage. Whether or not it works is totally not part of the conversation. The fact that this is happening is a very serious, desperate sign. Okay, let me try to catch up where I was. I will apologize now if this video goes on too long. I'm only on the second page. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster, but I'll try not to make more than 2 videos, but if I have to, I have to. So, wait a while. This person is experiencing the drowning effect. They will not have any capacity to be able to appreciate their possibly completely and utter mortification of themselves if they were to be able to, grasp the gravity of their behavior, even be able to see themselves. Like I said, they are not aware of that, of anything about themselves or anything. They're only aware of desperate feeling. They probably aren't even aware of what they're saying. But it can lead up to slipping into desperation until you feel untold frustration regarding, maybe you aren't being correctly understood. I had this problem myself. Or you've been doing everything absolutely right, but you don't feel like you're taken seriously. But you have you've been making positive steps, but you feel like in order for you to make it a little bit more advancement in some areas, you will need a little bit of recognition, because you have been making steps, and you do want to take a little bit of your pride back and move some boundaries in certain places, and that's good and that's healthy. So, I apologize for losing my place. This is the worst video ever. Let's see. Slipping into desperation, frustrating. Basically, just being misunderstood, or you've been doing absolutely everything right, but you don't feel it taken seriously. As I said, sometimes people need to take their pride to change their boundaries, which can be very jarring for people, friends and family around them who just become used to sort of being able to make a little more fun of this person for some reason. And oh wait, maybe we shouldn't have been doing that. It'll be a frustrating moment for them too. But when you did actually make these positive changes, there was some understanding, like if you have any kids, maybe your family was going to let you visit your kids again. But you've gotten clean and staying clean, and you're so 1000% on board with your sobriety now, and you're doing it for the right reasons now because you want to do it. You want to better yourself. You want to be a better parent or a better spouse, just a better person in general. You're tired of the drama. Okay, so you've made that decision, but you're not reaping the rewards that you feel that were at least told were in the pipes for you when you got sober. Why can't I see my kid yet? Or why can't this happen yet? Or why am I still struggling with, certain other things I'm struggling with? Being sober means dealing with your problems. So, that sucks, but you were hiding from them. We need to deal with them whenever we're sober. We need to recognize them. We need to recognize that we need to go to therapy. That's, again, not a weakness. It's a part of a process that helps you purge addiction from your life. It really is. So you're doing it for the right reasons. You want to better yourself. Be a better parent, be a better any and everything. But even with as excited and as serious as you are, and you may just feel so sure that those around you and those close to you should be able to tell how serious you are about your sobriety, even after a relatively long time, and you're getting involved with healthy hobbies. You've got new habits and new things that you're doing instead of drugs or what are drug friends, what drug habits, whatever the kind of bullshit you used to do. And I know this can feel frustrating, and like the things that may only make sense to you now is that whatever was in the pipes, whatever was supposed to be in the pipes, that was a lie. That can maybe be the only thing that makes sense to you. Or that maybe when your family said you could see your kid again or something, maybe they never believed in you in the first place and they had already done paperwork to get to adopt your kid or something. I know this stuff has happened to some people. I'm not trying to scare you. But I'm just saying, you're going to learn a lot about your family and yourself and your friends that you're going to have to process and decide whether you can tolerate certain friends in your life or certain people in your life that you may feel have done you wrong. But I want you to think about it and think about it hard before you make those kind of decisions, especially with family, because of the reasons I previously stated about how difficult it is to watch someone go through. Now, okay, so you got healthy hobbies going on now, but it feels frustrating. You can feel like you've been lied to or deceived. Seems like, for whatever reason, even though you know the truth, things like this, or even just any other desperation or feeling of desperation, can lead to the drowning effect. When the person is trying and trying and trying and trying and not being rewarded, and actually possibly feeling like they're being kicked while they're down when they're trying, that can lead to a drowning effect episode. Any kind of extreme stressor that makes someone feel like they don't have a voice, or they can't be heard, or they're being muffled, they're trying. There's so many aspects to recovery that can lead to the drowning effect. There's aspects before recovery, there's aspects during, and there's aspects after recovery that can lead to the drowning effect. I would argue during and after recovery would be the prime times for drowning effects to happen, because you are dealing with the problems that you've been covering up with drugs for so long. Okay, may feel like no one ever believed in you. Are we on? All right. Sorry about that hiccup. So these desperate things can lead to this drowning effect that I'm going over. Like I said, it manifests in different ways, but it's all basically desperation. Um, like I said, people can feel like they're not being heard, or they don't have a voice, or they're just unable to make any progress in their lives for some reason, and this can lead to the drowning effect. So I want to explain also that the drowning effect can easily go on for very long periods of time, with acute outbursts or other acts or statements that the subject of the drowning effect are not typically prone to do. When the effect is fully over, the subject may feel extremely confused. They may have feelings that are difficult to process, or even wondering if they should offer any explanation or apologies, because maybe it should just be understood that they flipped the fuck out because they were stressed. I honestly felt like I didn't owe anyone an apology because I was so maximally stressed, and I don't know. I said a lot of things too, but I did apologize for them, and I would advise you to probably do the same thing. Just keep your relationships good. Don't let, if your relationship was still going on while you were an addict, and you see things that you may not like in recovery, and in sobriety, if you still see those things and they still affect you, if you need to cut someone off, cut them off. But you need to make sure that's what you want to do. Anyway, so I said like I said, it can go on for a long period of time. It can be days. People could be in feeling like they're drowning for weeks, because this effect it leads up to a breaking point, and the breaking point is just the period at the end of the sentence. It doesn't mean that they weren't already suffocating, feeling like they're drowning for great period of time, months. So, as I said, it's going to cause people, not cause, but I mean, people will do things they're not typically prone to do, act out, lash out. But they can end up feeling very uncomfortable with what they may or may not remember of it, because it can just be a black hole. It can be a blank space in your memory. A lot of it was for me. I went off. I think it happened to me a few times, but if you ask me what I said, I might have said one word that was right. I don't know, but I wouldn't have gotten it very right. I know that I said some things I shouldn't, and I would not have ordinarily said or done, but that is not willful. It is an effect, and I want people to understand that, and I want the people who experience this, I want you to still take responsibility for the things you said, because you did say them, but I also want you to understand that you're not a horrible person. So I also want to make it clear that the drowning effect is not a weakness. It is an experience of complete, total desperation, or other extreme emotions. Can be scary, but they're so intense. They're extreme emotions. It is an experience of complete and total desperation and other extreme and possibly scary emotions. Anxiety has a lot to do with things being scary, because you don't know. If you know what's coming, you can prepare for it. If you don't know, that's the anxiety paradox. So when someone is in this drowning effect, it, this effect pulls you so far from reality that from place, time, from associations of who you're around, and all other awareness of self, uh, other than the feeling of extreme desperation when you're, uh, wherein you only really know how emotionally exhausted and just desperate you are. See, if you are able to recall anything after this extreme part of the episode, you may feel uh, further exhaustion. You may feel emotionally confused, emotionally exhausted, and you may feel regret if you're able to recall anything. You may not be able to recall anything at all right away. So it's actually confusing, exhausting, and actually totally terrifying to come out of this too. Especially if you've never been through it before. What the hell was that? I'm not even kidding. Especially if you've never seen it before. Please don't make a judgment on someone based on an act of desperation. So they will not be able to recall exact things that happened during that episode. The patient, I'll call patient, person experiencing the addiction who also experiences the drowning effect. Likely said hurtful things, but it was desperately misunderstood. Everything that happened was desperately misunderstood. Because maybe you worded whatever you said every way you knew how to say it, whatever you're feeling, whatever you needed to say, or whatever you needed to get expressed, whatever you don't feel that you can say, you're silenced about, you need to have your voice. Whatever it is that you've been trying to scream to the top of your lungs, to the top of your voice, to be understood, hasn't worked. So, in this episode, it hastily makes sure others feel at least a little bit bad as you do, and part of that is a mistake, which we need to own. But also, it needs to be clearly understood that this is also not a conscious choice or decision. This is an effect. It happens because the person feels so terrible on the inside that the only way they feel that maybe people can finally realize how shitty they feel is to try to make everyone else feel just as shitty for just a split second. And then they just realize, oh my God, no one's going to help me feel better if they feel shitty because of me. It doesn't make sense, but it's part of the human condition. A lot of things we do don't make sense. But a lot of the time that's how it manifests. And for that short time, you do try to get attention by going off on someone, a rant, etc., exploding it, whatever. Maybe you happen to be able to use words that can cut people really sharply. Maybe you just happen to be able to say things that can hurt deeply. Know that what you say can be very sharp. This is a blunt thing that happens, but the effects can be extremely painful. But the bluntness is that there's no organization to it. It just happens. It's like something hitting the ground. What's the effect? It might hit the ground and go thud. Maybe it'll break. I don't know. Depends on what's hitting the ground. If that makes sense. Okay, I'm almost done. Please be patient with me, and I thank you for still watching, if you're still watching. So now others feel hurt by the subject who was just going through this drowning effect. So the subject just wanted to get attention, like I said, because they felt There was just, they were at the end of the road. Like, basically, it's that or, you know, and I'm not trying to be crass. This is real with mental health and addiction. This is so real. It cannot be overstated. So, like I said, they'll realize, I'm sorry, so the subject, patient, or the person who just experienced that, was just trying to get the attention. Perhaps it felt like that was a drastic measure they could possibly take, when of course you're not thinking about it correctly. This is not something you think about. But you're not being listened to and you're not being heard. That stopped long ago. So it can happen to people who are not feeling heard. Please try to listen to people when they're desperate. Please. You may be the last person they're trying to speak to. They don't know how to speak any differently. A lot of times we hear people say the same things. They'll say, well, I do want to get clean, something like that, or date, whatever's going on. But you hear it from the same person, it's going to affect you the same way when you've heard it a sixth or eighth or however many hundredth time. But realize that there could be that time that you could help save this person. And I'm not saying that you would be responsible for their death. I'm saying that you just know that you could help someone. I'm just saying you could help be there for someone, and people can help be there for you. It helps people. Let's help each other. But the person who's may have exploded or gone on that rant is certainly been hurting constantly. They've gotten so lost in their desperation. This is the last stop. But their other cries for help have gone unnoticed. But be guaranteed that this drowning effect only occurs after those cries for help have been attempted and seemingly fallen upon the deaf. There are stages that many patients can go through. Mental health patients, they ask for help. They do it in different ways. They don't do it in very different ways. Just pay attention. It may take them a few tries. Maybe if you're about to jump off of a bridge or a cliff into water, not to kill yourself, just to jump when you're a kid, or off the high dive. Did you jump right away? That's a big leap, You've never done that before. You're a little kid. Look down. Wow, that's far. Remember how scary that was? Well, this is a damn adult with their entire life on the precipice of being a complete failure. Might as well kill themselves. This is how they feel. I'm not promoting any of this. I'm saying this is a lot of how mental health patients can feel. So they're at the top of that diving board for the first time, just like they were when they were a kid. And they're about to have to jump. That's real. Sorry, guys. But that's real. And it takes courage. You don't just tell someone, just go do it. That's platitudes that you know nothing about. Don't just say go do it. Just do it. No, if you want to help someone, get in their ear, get in their brain if you really want to help someone. Sorry. But this is really serious stuff, and it affects how the patient is treated, affects them for the rest of their life, because our experiences, including the drowning effect, including what we went through while we were addicts, what we went through as we were recovering, and what we continue to go through as a person in recovery, because you're always going to be considered in recovery. And you'll always be considered an addict, and that's not a weakness. It's not a label either. If you don't want to be called that, strip yourself of it. If you feel you need to be called it, you can give yourself that label, but it doesn't mean you're you're a bad person or anything. It is you need that reminder for yourself that you're an addict. Keep it. But if you say to yourself, I don't think I need that label anymore. If you think you can do it, strip yourself of that label and try to remember that you are an addict. I guess I don't know, but it's not a bad thing to be an addict. It's just a bad thing to be an active addict. And that it's bad. I mean, it's unhealthy. Okay, so as I've said, the drowning effect occurs after the cries for help. In general, anyway, take the patient seriously in general, and when they're talking about how they feel, it is imperative. And it is also difficult for some people to open up, especially if they've been deeply hurt in the past, or experienced PTSD or other traumatic events, tragic events, experiences that shape a lot of who they are. Our experiences more and more shape who we are, and it's very imperative that we listen to people and that they feel listened to. So these experiences shape our life, and also when you're getting sober. If you're helping someone, remember that is an experience that they're going to remember you for the rest of their lives. They're going to remember what anyone did to help them for the rest of their lives, because that was such an important part of them saving their lives that it makes a huge impact. And people who they expected support from may miss out just because of confusion or misunderstandings. And I would definitely promote family therapy. I would definitely say go to it. Go to therapy. Therapy is not a weakness either. Oh my God. It's fine to go to therapy. We all need therapy. We really all do. Almost done. But like I said, a lot of the things that shape you are going to also be things that shape you during recovery and after recovery, and things that you're going to realize after you've been sober for a while. You're gonna have some realizations depending on how long you've been numb to the world. You're gonna have a lot of realizations, like just puts things together like that make absolutely no sense. Why did I ever think that? Or opposite, whatever. You're gonna be able to do math, like not putting two to two together. But I'm just saying, you're gonna be doing a lot of that kind of stuff where you're figuring stuff out, like that guy took me for a ride, or this, whatever. You're gonna be coming to a lot of realizations, and a lot of them are gonna be difficult to deal with. So you might need to go to therapy. I definitely promote going to therapy. Totally endorse it. Now, last thing I'm going to say about the drowning effect is that watching or seeing someone experience the terrible collapse of all sense of self or self-awareness, while also losing their own, the person losing all this, losing their inhibitions, watching this, saying that things that they don't mean, but maybe saying or doing things that may feel painful or hurt in such an absolutely blunt manner that while also feeling the touch of the splinters of this blunt object being used wrongly. It's a big fat giant blunt object. Blunt splinters of a blunt experience. It's extremely difficult for the patient to get through this. There are no instructions for this experience. I have found nothing about this as it works. So I tried to put something together to help with the lack of information for this type of experience. I see a missed opportunity. There's so much help for so many people, and there's no instruction. But I hope that this will offer guidance and direction at the very least. Thank you so much for watching. I'm sorry if I was slow and kind of stuttery and having kind of a crummy day, but please subscribe to the Mental Health and Addiction channel. Thank you.